Jesus was born in the town of Bethlehem in Judea during the time when Herod was king. After Jesus was born, some wise men from the east came to Jerusalem. They asked people, "Where is the child who has been born to be the King of the Jews? We saw the star that shows he was born. We saw it rise in the sky in the east and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard about this, it upset him as well as everyone else in Jerusalem. Herod called a meeting of all the leading Jewish priests and teachers of the law. He asked them where the Messiah would be born. They answered, "In the town of Bethlehem in Judea, just as the prophet wrote. Bethlehem in the land of Judah, you are important among the rulers of Judah. Yes, a ruler will come from you, and that ruler will lead Israel, my people." Then Herod had a private meeting with the wise men from the east. He learned from them the exact time they first saw the star. Then he sent them to Bethlehem. He said, "Go and look carefully for the child. When you find him, come tell me, then I can go worship him too." After the wise men heard the king, they left. They saw the same star they had seen in the east, and they followed it. The star went before them until it stopped above the place where the child was. They were very happy and excited to see the star. The wise men came to the house where the child was, with his mother Mary. They bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened the boxes of gifts they had brought for him. They gave him treasures of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But God warned the wise men in a dream not to go back to Herod, so they went home to their own country a different way. After the wise men left, an angel of the Lord came to Joseph in a dream. The angel said, "Get up, take the child with his mother and escape to Egypt. Herod wants to kill the child and will soon start looking for him. Stay in Egypt until I tell you to come back." So Joseph got ready and left for Egypt with the child and the mother. They left during the night. Joseph stayed in Egypt until Herod died. This gave full meaning to what the Lord said through the prophet, "I called my son to come out of Egypt." Herod saw that the wise men had fooled him, and he was very angry. So he gave an order to kill all the baby boys in Bethlehem and the whole area around Bethlehem. Herod had learned from the wise men the time the baby was born. It was now 2 years from that time. So he said to kill all the boys who were 2 years old and younger. This gave full meaning to what God said through the prophet Jeremiah. A sound was heard in Ramah, bitter crying and great sadness. Rachel cries for her children, and she cannot be comforted because her children are gone. While Joseph was in Egypt, Herod died. An angel from the Lord came to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up, take the child with his mother and go to Israel. Those who were trying to kill the child are now dead." So Joseph took the child and the mother and went to Israel. But he heard that Archelaus was now king in Judea. Archelaus became king when his father Herod died. So Joseph was afraid to go there. Then, after being warned in a dream, he went away to the area of Galilee. He went to a town called Nazareth and lived there. This gave full meaning to what God said through the prophets. God said the Messiah would be called a Nazarene. Every year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the Passover festival. When Jesus was 12 years old, they went to the festival as usual. When the festival was over, they went home, but Jesus stayed in Jerusalem. His parents did not know about it. They traveled for a whole day thinking that Jesus was with them in the group. They began looking for him among their family and close friends, but they did not find him. So they went back to Jerusalem to look for him there. After 3 days, they found him. Jesus was sitting in the temple area with the religious teachers, listening and asking them questions. Everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding and wise answers. When his parents saw him, they wondered how this was possible. And his mother said, "Son, why did you do this to us? Your father and I were worried about you. We have been looking for you." Jesus said to them, "Why did you have to look for me? You should have known that I must be where my Father's work is." But they did not understand the meaning of what he said to them. Jesus went with them to Nazareth and obeyed them. His mother was still thinking about all these things. As Jesus grew taller, he continued to grow in wisdom. God was pleased with him, and so were the people who knew him. This is what the prophet Isaiah said would happen. He wrote, "Listen, I will send my messenger ahead of you. He will prepare the way for you. There is someone shouting in the desert, 'Prepare the way for the Lord. Make the road straight for him.'" So John the Baptizer came and was baptizing people in the desert area. He told them to be baptized to show that they wanted to change their lives, and then their sins would be forgiven. All the people from Judea, including everyone from Jerusalem, came out to John. They confessed the bad things they had done, and he baptized them in the Jordan River. John wore clothes made from camel's hair and a leather belt around his waist. He ate locusts and wild honey. This is what John told the people. "There is someone coming later who is able to do more than I can. I am not good enough to be the slave who stoops down to untie his sandals. I baptize you with water, but the one who is coming will baptize you with the Holy Spirit." When it was the right time, John the Baptizer began telling people a message from God. This was out in the desert area of Judea. John said, "Change your hearts and lives, because God's kingdom is now very near." John is the one Isaiah the prophet was talking about when he said, "There is someone shouting in the desert, 'Prepare the way for the Lord. Make the road straight for him.'" John's clothes were made from camel's hair, and he had a leather belt around his waist. For food, he ate locusts and wild honey. People came to John from Jerusalem and the rest of Judea, and from all the areas along the Jordan River. They confessed the bad things they had done, and John baptized them in the Jordan. Many Pharisees and Sadducees came to where John was baptizing people. When John saw them, he said, "You are all snakes! Who warned you to run from God's judgment that is coming? Change your hearts and show by the way you live that you have changed. I know what you are thinking. You want to say, 'But Abraham is our father.' That means nothing. I tell you, God could make children for Abraham from these rocks. The axe is now ready to cut down the trees. Every tree that does not produce good fruit will be cut down and thrown into the fire. I baptize you with water to show that you have changed your hearts and lives. But there is someone coming later who is able to do more than I can. I am not good enough to be the slave who takes off his sandals. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and with fire. He will come ready to clean the grain. He will separate the good grain from the straw, and he will put the good part into his barn. Then he will burn the useless part with a fire that cannot be stopped." It was the 15th year of the rule of Tiberius Caesar. These men were under Caesar: Pontius Pilate, the governor of Judea; Herod, the ruler of Galilee; Philip, Herod's brother, the ruler of Iturea and Trachonitis; Lysanias, the ruler of Abilene. Annas and Caiaphas were the high priests. During this time, John, the son of Zechariah, was living in the desert, and he received a message from God. So he went through the whole area around the Jordan River and told the people God's message. He told them to be baptized to show that they wanted to change their lives, and then their sins would be forgiven. This is like the words written in the book of Isaiah the prophet. "There is someone shouting in the desert, preparing the way for the Lord. Make the road straight for him. Every valley will be filled, and every mountain and hill will be made flat. Crooked roads will be made straight, and rough roads will be made smooth. Then everyone will see how God will save his people." Crowds of people came to be baptized by John. But he said to them, "You are all snakes! Who warned you to run from God's judgment that is coming? Change your hearts and show by your lives that you have changed. I know what you were about to say, but Abraham is our father. That means nothing. I tell you that God can make children for Abraham from these rocks. The axe is now ready to cut down the trees. Every tree that does not produce good fruit will be cut down and thrown into the fire." The people asked John, "What should we do?" He answered, "If you have 2 shirts, share with someone who does not have one. If you have food, share that too." Even the tax collectors came to John. They wanted to be baptized. They said to him, "Teacher, what should we do?" He told them, "Don't take any more taxes from the people than you have been ordered to collect." The soldiers asked him, "What about us? What should we do?" He said to them, "Don't use force or lies to make people give you money. Be happy with the pay you get." Everyone was hoping for the Messiah to come, and they wondered about John. They thought, maybe he is the Messiah. John's answer to this was, "I baptize you in water, but there is someone coming later who is able to do more than I can. I am not good enough to be the slave who unties his sandals. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and with fire. He will come ready to clean the grain. He will separate the good grain from the straw, and he will put the good part into his barn. Then he will burn the useless part with a fire that cannot be stopped." John said many other things like this to encourage the people to change, and he told them the good news. About that time, Jesus came from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to the place where John was. John baptized Jesus in the Jordan River. As Jesus was coming up out of the water, he saw the sky torn open. The Spirit came down on him like a dove. A voice came from heaven and said, "You are my Son, the one I love. I am very pleased with you." Then Jesus came from Galilee to the Jordan River. He came to John, wanting John to baptize him. But John tried to stop him. John said, "Why do you come to me to be baptized? I should be baptized by you." Jesus answered, "Let it be this way for now. We should do whatever God says is right." Then John agreed. So Jesus was baptized. As soon as he came up out of the water, the sky opened, and he saw God's Spirit coming down on him like a dove. A voice from heaven said, "This is my Son, the one I love. I am very pleased with him." When all the people were being baptized, Jesus came and was baptized too. And while he was praying, the sky opened and the Holy Spirit came down on him. The Spirit looked like a real dove. Then a voice came from heaven and said, "You are my Son, the one I love. I am very pleased with you."